Girl, you probably clicked on this video because you're curious as to what the astrology slash zodiac sign hype is all about. What actually is a birth chart? Or someone just asked you your sun, moon, rising and you were like, huh? So lucky for you, you decided to click on this video because we are about to break down the most basic components of a birth chart, like in the most beginner friendly way possible for you to understand what it is, what tips or advice on how to interpret it. Hopefully by the end of the video, you get to have an understanding of yourself and like the beautiful complexity of your personality and the aspects based on the stars. Also, your life path, because like who doesn't want to know their life path? Quick disclaimer before we start, before you guys go in the comments all like, oh, astrology is just a pseudoscience, it's a bunch of BS. Well, this video is not for you. So if you guys want to know more, keep on watching. So before we dive right in, hi, I'm Trixie and welcome to my channel where we discuss all things self-development and spirituality to help you become your best and brightest selves. Thank you guys so much for being here, and if you like my content, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button down below. And yeah, okay, so here are the video chapters if you guys want to skip to the parts that you want to know more about. So let's get started with chapter 1. What is your astrological birth chart? You can also call it your natal chart. So this is literally the snapshot of the skies, the heavens, and the stars at the exact moment you were born into this world. It shows what specific locations the planets were in, what signs were they in, etc. First things first, how can we pull up your birth chart? You should know your date, time of birth, and location of your birth. You can go ahead, ask your parents, pull up your birth certificate. I'll wait. Okay, so I know that the time of birth can be tricky, but it's actually very important because it will really affect what your chart looks like, and it might affect also the overall results or interpretation of your chart. So the time of birth also determines your rising sign or your ascendant sign, which we'll discuss more later. Thankfully, we have the internet, so you could just quickly type in a Google search, calculate birth chart, and a lot will pop up. But personally, I would recommend the app called The Pattern. So you could download it in the App Store and it will just give a really in-depth analysis of your chart and all these aspects, etc., etc. I could discuss that on a separate video about how much I love The Pattern. But anyway, any site that could generate the actual chart is good enough. Once you're done, congrats, you have your birth chart. And now you're looking at it like, oh, what are these shapes? What are these lines? What are these symbols? Well, we're gonna break it down. The birth chart has 3 major components. You have planets, the signs, and the houses. Let's start with the houses. So you could see that your chart is divided like a pie, like slices of a pie, and there are 12 slices. These 12 slices represent the 12 different houses. And in the innermost circle, you could see the numbers from 1 to 12. In a normal chart like the one we are using, the beginning of the first house is at the 9 o'clock position, and then it will move counterclockwise until the 12th. Each house, it represents a different area of life. Here's a reference. You guys can pause the video if you wish. So say the 7th house, it focuses on relationships and committed partnerships, while the 10th house focuses on career and reputation. The most important one is your first house, which is the house where your rising sign or ascendant sign is, because this represents yourself and your identity. Looking at your chart, you could see that there are thingies inside each slice. So what are these thingies? These thingies are the planets. Each planet is represented by a symbol, or like to call it a glyph. These are the list of planets from the sun to Pluto and their corresponding meanings. So you could pause the video if you wish. If you have planets inside a specific house, this means that these themes are especially strong or prominent in your life. So these areas of life are very important to you. Say like, I have a lot of planets in my 10th house of career and reputation. So in my life, My career is very important to me. Don't worry if you don't have planets in a specific house. So like you might think, oh, I don't have planets in my 7th house of relationships. So does that mean I'm gonna be single forever? No, it doesn't mean like that, girl. It just means that every house that you have planets in, it plays an important role in your life journey. These are the areas of life that you should pay the most attention to. Every house in your chart is applicable to your life. Some are just stronger than others. The placements of these planets in their specific houses, it shows how this energy appears in your life. For example, I have my moon in the 4th house of home and family. It means like when I was reflecting on it, this means that my emotions are usually triggered, or I have a strong attachment to my childhood or memories from my childhood. But when I pieced it together, it actually made so much sense. Think of the planets actually as inside out characters. They represent certain faculties, certain aspects of you, like say sadness represents like my moon self, like my emotional self, and say my Mars or my assertion or motivation, that's like anger. So now we have the last component, which are the signs. So these are probably what you know of, from Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, etc. These symbols, they are placed on the outermost part of the circle. So to recap, the houses represent areas of life, the planets represent the characters or the different temperaments within you, and lastly, we have the signs, how they express itself through your personality, basically. Every sign has a specific set of unique personality traits or characteristics. So here's a summary. You guys can pause the video if you want to check it out. So for example, Venus, which is the planet of love and relationships, it's in the fiery sign of Aries, which means I express my love through passionate, more spontaneous ways. Another example, say Mercury, the planet of the mind and communication, is in the sign of Gemini. So I express my thoughts and communicate in a more curious and playful way. I know that as a beginner, there are a lot of planets and signs, but the most important for you to start with are your sun, moon, and rising, or the big 3, they like to call it. My big 3 is that I'm an Aquarius sun, Scorpio moon, and a Leo rising. Let's break down these 3 signs and what they mean. First, your sun sign is basically your zodiac sign, like what you know your sign to be based on your birthday. Actually, your sun sign, this is your outward self. This is your core identity. This is who you naturally are. Then you have your moon sign. This represents your emotional self. The way you nurture yourself, how you process your feelings when you're alone. It's the more inward self. So knowing both your sun and moon, you get an idea, what is my outward personality and what is my inward personality. Lastly, we have the most important sign, in my opinion, in your entire birth chart, is your rising or ascendant, or the ASC sign. It's called your chart ruler for a reason. Guys, this is why it's very important to know your time of birth. So your ascendant is basically your mask, like how you are perceived by others. But for me, like the most important definition of your rising sign, it's basically your destiny. This is your life path. Knowing your rising sign will help get to know like what is the most evolved version of myself and what does it look like. That is your rising sign. The qualities of whatever the rising sign is, that's who you're meant to become. Me, my rising sign is the most personal to me and also my best friend. She resonates with her rising sign also the most. For example, like my rising sign is in Leo. So this lifetime, I'm meant to really be charismatic and courageous and shine brightly in whatever field I choose. Now that we have an idea of the 3 main components of a birth chart and what are the most important placements to look at, what now? Go ahead and examine your own birth chart. Observe the planets and the corresponding houses or placements they're in. You have actually a formula for this, and this is how you make your own observations and interpretations. It's the planet plus the sign plus the house equals your interpretation. Very simple. It's like, who is the character, which is their planet? How does the character express itself, which is the sign? And where does the action take place? The area of life, which is the houses. So it's basically that simple. For example, if your Mars is in Scorpio in the 4th house, what does that mean? Fourth house represents your home and family life, right? So you may have been motivated to become assertive when it comes to your family or your loved ones. You're very protective and loyal and assertive when it comes to them. So it's just simple as that, that kind of observation. So girl, grab a journal and try to correlate your placements and apply it to your everyday life. There is no right or wrong answer here. You can make as bold as an observation you can, whatever feels right to you. That's it. Create your own narratives and try to piece together the story of your life. Look at your natural strengths or natural personality traits. How can I leverage on them, you know, in my career and whatever path I choose? What are the possible challenges I may face in this life? How can I align better with my destiny, knowing that these are the traits that I should actually embody? Again, there is no right or wrong answer. You know, your birth chart is simply a self-discovery tool to get to know yourself better, because at the end of the day, it's all just, you know, a process of self-reflection and, you know, inquiry, because you keep asking yourself, who am I? So if you ask yourself, who am I? Look at your birth chart. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. So I hope you learned something substantial, and I hope you get to have these amazing realizations about who you are, and I hope it helped you as much as it did me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys in my next video. Bye!